Hello, everyone. This is Logan Hertz with Hazeltine LLC. We are continuing our interview series with other financial professionals. And we are interviewing today, even though we've had him on the show many times, we've actually never done an in depth interview with him. So this will probably be the first of many with our friend Peter Nelson, who has over 21 years of experience in the industry. He is a four-time member of the Million Dollar Roundtable, currently court of the table. So, Peter, welcome to the program again.
Hi, Logan. Thank you for having me.
So I always like to start with why. What why are you in the industry? What got you started? Like why do you do what you do?
It's a great question. I think that's one of the neat stories to hear everyone's background of why. But to be honest, I always thought I was going to be a military guy. That was always kind of my thing. But my mother was a stockbroker for some companies you might have heard of, Morgan Stanley, and then H&R Block Advisors. They got bought by Ameriprise. My uncle spent like I think 30 years with Wydell and Reed. So on Saturday mornings, when I always remember back in the day, cartoons would come on Saturday mornings. That was like a big deal. Gosh, I seem so old thinking about that. But instead, because my parents lived next door to my aunt and uncle, still actually do. Um, on a Saturday morning, my uncle would come over, and I was learning how to read the back of a Wall Street Journal. So I kind of grew up in that business and didn't do the military thing. And so February of 2002, I found myself at Wydell and Reed as a financial advisor slash planner, building financial plans. And being 21 years old, right after the dot-com bubble, let me tell you something. Trying to tell people what to do with their money after they just lost a whole pile of it, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, so when did you make the transition? Because I remember you talking about how you used to be part of the the matrix, so to speak, and then you finally saw the light, and maybe that 2008 crash helped you to see the light. Like, what was it that led you towards what you do now, which is more focused on things like cash value life insurance and annuities, and less on give me your money and I'll promise you some return on investment?
Yeah. Um, there was two things I think really. 07, 08, I was actually running a multi-line agency for American National, and I was also securities licensed through them. And I had, some money under management. And the crash happened, and I'll never forget. There was one client, maybe two, but at least one I'll never forget. He was close to retirement, and I had his money in good funds, American funds, mutual funds, right? The quintessential, if you think about mutual funds, and just got destroyed. And I did exactly what the way I was trained. You got to stay in, buy and hold, right? Higher the risk, higher the reward. It's just a paper loss, Logan. It's just a paper loss. Well, he couldn't. After a while, he had to get out. And you know what he did? He got out at the very bottom, you know. And that one always bothered me. But I had how many that I did they were diversified. You've heard that one, whether it be an 80/20 or a 60/40 portfolio.
Right, and because they were diversified, they saw no losses, right, Peter? Their
Right,
portfolio
right,
must have remained constant since they were
right,
diversified, right?
right.
Surely the market crash doesn't affect a diversified portfolio.
And I'll even go a step further. I even had some people that I've moved from whole life contracts to to variable universal life contracts back then because hey, market's going up. We can see this illustration, it can do better. And you got to understand that it's the way we were taught, right? We just didn't think that there was going to be everything was going up, kind of like now actually.
Yeah,
And
people just get mesmerized by those numbers on a page, right? You show the quote unquote illustration, which is not an illustration, it's not visual, it's just numbers. And if you can make the numbers look better, people just assume, well, wow, this is so much better. It's like, no, you have to understand the assumptions that go into those numbers. And then you'll see why just because the numbers are larger doesn't mean it's a better contract. In fact, it probably means I'm going to go into a bit of a rabbit hole here, but I like to make a distinction between two things. Well, actually, three things. So there's case design versus policy design. Okay. But even aside from that, there's proper policy design, which is what I do, and I think what you do, versus manipulating a company's illustration software to spit out better numbers,
Right.
which is what some people do. And I don't think they're consciously doing it. It's just they don't know how to think conceptually. They don't really understand why the numbers are better or what's going into it. They just assume that, hey, if I can get the numbers to look better, it's a better contract. Well, no, that's not how it works. You have to understand, why are those numbers better? And usually it's because it's a worse contract, but the assumptions going into it are more unrealistic and more aggressive. Therefore, it spits out better numbers, right? Because, hey, if I'm just going to assume the market goes up 12% per year, I mean, well, of course the numbers are going to look good, right?
Yeah. And I would like to, I probably have some laying around in some folder, but I would love to see what I was even the hypothetical illustrations on that VUL were back then. But anyways, those blew up too. And yeah, that was a bad time. So
Yep.
the other time though, the game changer was, it's when I was, being a cradle Catholic, I'll tell you, I joke. I tell everybody that in July of 2018, I was born again. Kind of funny, right? But I was in Omaha, Nebraska. I was working for the Knights of Columbus at the time. And they had this conference. They have it every other year. And I went to it. I just started March of 2018 at the Knights. And they had three speakers, Tom Hegna, Joe Jordan, and Van Miller. And after listening to Van Miller speak for about an hour, this light bulb went off. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that night, I'll never forget this, in my hotel room, I was like, I signed up for Van's newsletter. I couldn't even sleep. And I actually reached out to him and I said, Van, I think you just changed my career. Thank you so much. And a couple days later, he actually reached out to me and he says, oh, thank you for that. I want to help. And ever since then, me and him have, he's mentored me. He's become a good friend of mine. And ever since then, my career has literally taken off. And really, in a nutshell, what he's gotten me to understand is that I don't know anything about anything. Okay. My sole job is to ask people questions that allows them to clarify in their own mind what'll be best for their situation, and instead of telling people stuff. And that might sound pretty simple, but here I am 5 years since then. So I qualified for Million Dollar Roundtable. And if people don't know, and Logan, you qualified last year, which was for your first year in the business, was, gosh, took me 16 years being in the business. But 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 qualified this year already for 20. So anyways, it's puts you in the top 10%. If you're core to there's three levels. If you're core to the table, that's top 5%. And then if you make that top of the table level, you're the top 1%, which is really my goal. And I'm planning on getting there. So that July of 2018, if you had to ask, what was the career defining moment where I decided that, cash value life insurance and annuities had to be part of the planning process? It was being mentored. You got to be mentored. You got to have one or more people that, people could argue that Van Miller is the greatest living life insurance agent right now in the country, if not in the world. And I do believe that. And, he taught me all this stuff, and I'll forever owe him a debt of gratitude. And he introduced me to so many other amazing people. And there was two things, Logan, that he actually told me. He said, one, never assume that anyone knows anything about life insurance or annuities. He said, even other insurance professionals. He goes, two, he goes, you got to give back. Because if you know his story, for the first 16 years in the business, he was a mediocre to average failure at this business. And someone took him by the hand and said, why don't you try it this way? So that's why I have agents, that I mentor and have under me across the country. And I honestly don't need other agents. And at times it, creates some take some time away from my own personal production, but I really do for the rest of my life. I want to give back to this industry that really has provided such an amazing thing to both me and my family.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that you do is you being a Catholic. Most of your clients are Catholic, and I think that's your natural market. And one of the things that you seem to that I want to ask you, what makes you unique? What makes you different? And one of the things that I think that I hear from you that is unique is why you like the fraternal organizations uh, versus the insurance company. It's not that there's anything wrong with the insurance companies, but there can be some unique advantages, reasons to do business with these fraternal organizations, like the Catholic Order of Foresters, that a lot of people are not even aware exist, or that they can get whole life policies, competitive whole life policies with these organizations. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm actually the self-proclaimed America's #1 fraternal insurance agent, and I love the fraternals. And here's why. You know, a fraternal organization is a 501(c)(8). Most people know of 501(c)(3)s. Well, a 501(c)(8) is a fraternal insurance company, so they're not for profit. They can't keep the money. Because they can't keep the money, because they don't pay federal income tax, because they don't have to pay federal income tax, they have to give back. So you don't have, when you're not just a client of the Catholic Order of Foresters, or the Italian Sons and Daughters of America, or I mean, I could just rail off 15 different fraternals that I use. You're a member, you belong to something, right? And I think that is something where people today, they feel so disenfranchised. I mean, gosh, just look at what's going on right now with, the traditional Catholic community right now, and everything else. Is people want to belong to something, right? And when you become a policy holder of a fraternal insurance company, you're a member, you belong to something. And I've gotten to know a lot of these executives that run, whether it be Catholic Order Foresters or one of these other fraternals, and it's a different mindset. These guys really do care, and I really like how I can just reach out. I got their cell phone numbers, and I can just get a hold of someone like that, and let's fix this or whatever. So I think it's really powerful. I actually believe that the fraternal insurance companies are the new mutual companies. There's still some very good mutual companies out there, but I don't think they're like the way they were back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I hear all the stories, gosh, back in the day, MetLife was such an amazing mutual company, and now they're not even a mutual company anymore, right? They demutualized. So I think the fraternals are going to pick up where the mutuals kind of left off to a certain degree, even though there's still some really good mutuals out there. Okay. So
Yeah, and of course, when you say new, I know what you mean, but they're not new, obviously.
no, no.
These fraternal organizations have been around since the 19th century. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like traditional. You like traditional. I don't want new. I want traditional. I want time honored. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
1883 Catholic Order of Foresters. So yeah, they've been there for a long time, and they have got a really good, if you want to talk about dividends. Now they actually don't, I'll probably get myself in trouble on here, but that's okay. I'm used to that. They don't declare dividend, but I think their dividend is about 5% or so. And so that's a fairly competitive dividend for a fraternal organization, you know.
yep. I've seen Catholic Order of Foresters policies. It's a very competitive product. That's for sure. And they certainly have some unique benefits being a fraternal organization.
Yes, the
Um,
fraternal legacy rider, real quick, just got to mention this because it's the only one out there. So let's just say you got $1 million policy with Catholic Order of Foresters, and heaven forbid you die, and I'm pretty sure none of us are immortal, right? Your family would get the $1 million, but 5% of the face amount, and this would not come out of your death benefit. But if, say, I was your agent, or you were the COF agent, you would hand that person's Catholic charity of choice 5% of a million is $50,000. So if St. Luke's parish that you attend, you'd walk in, Logan, with a $50,000 check to give to them. And like I said, that doesn't come out of your death benefit. And you might say, gosh, it sounds way too good to be true. How can they pull that off? Well, it's simple. They can't keep the profits. So they can do stuff that no other life insurance company out there can do. And I think that is absolutely amazing. We actually have right now over $87 million earmarked for Catholic charities across this country with that Fraternal Legacy program.
Excellent, excellent. So, what is your sort of philosophy, right, behind what you do?
Yeah. Um, well, it's a great question. Um, so I've been taught a process that Van actually taught me. So I take people through I always ask them 5 questions, and then I take them through what we call an emotional fact finder, and then we take them through a factual fact finder. And so going through that, I ask a lot of questions. Once again, that allows them to clarify in their own mind what would be best for their situation. Um, but I mean, I truly, you've heard me talk before. I love the Ernst and Young process, where in fact what they came up with. Ernst and Young did this report, and they wanted to see how you could maximize both retirement income and legacy at the same time. And they found out that the ideal portfolio would roughly be 30% cash value life insurance, 30% a deferred income annuity, and 40% investment. So in a perfect world, I'm trying to build portfolios around that. And I mean, absolutely love whole life insurance to be part of that, cash value life insurance. I do also incorporate other types of permanent cash value life insurance into things. But then I'm very careful with the way I build everything. I don't build I don't want, none of my policies are going to break. I believe in max funding them and building them properly. Um, and I think one of my biggest strong points is that I wasn't as good as I should have been for the first 16 years, but my gosh, for the rest of my life, and I have no intentions of ever retiring. I'll do this till my mentor's in his 70s now. I'm going to do this till the day I die. I love this. This is no longer a job or a career for me. It's a lifestyle. It really is.
We take care of widows and orphans.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah. I believe that
Um,
came out of, I think Isaiah, defend the widows and the orphans, right?
yeah, yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. And so, given that you work a lot in the Catholic market, and you are a Catholic, what is your sort of message that specifically resonates with Catholics, or is it just kind of a shared mindset that is unspoken?
It reminds me of what John Savage, one of the greatest life insurance agents of all time from Toledo, Ohio, who was also a very devout Catholic. He always drew things. He always drew circles. It was like the circle of life to him. But anyways, he said people don't buy insurance. People buy people. So when people take out policies, do strategies with us at Nelson Insurance Advisors, um, a lot of the time they're buying me. They believe in the process. They believe that um, I'm going to be there to pay out those claims, to make sure that we get through the tough times. I mean, I delivered one check for over a death claim for over $1 million, and I'll be really honest, that was a game changer in a way to pay out a claim and I've paid out many claims, but to pay out a claim that big to a young widow, even though of course, it wasn't exciting that a young man in his prime passed away. To be able to walk in with that check and to say everything's going to be okay, I can't tell you how powerful. I almost want to get teary-eyed thinking about it. Um, it's it's very special, and it's why we do what we do.
Yeah, yep, yep. Uh, you know, I've definitely heard from other agents too. That's when you really understand and see the value, for sure, because it makes a massive difference to those families.
And
It's phenomenal.
I had another claim, by the way, paid out a claim. I want to say it was either 50 or 100,000. I'd have to double check, but he was a deacon at a parish. Wonderful, wonderful man. And one day his wife found him in the backyard. I think he was cutting the grass. It wasn't the check wasn't as big as that other one, but still, you know what? It paid off the rest. I believe it paid off the mortgage, and it allowed her to a little bit extra money to stay on her feet. Um, so, talking about the Catholic perspective, you know, you write a policy and then a year and a half, I think it was a year and a half later, 2 years later, you deliver the death claim check for it. Um, yeah, um, one thing that I'll never forget. I even have the banner still hanging here. Remind me from the Knights of Columbus, Tempus fugit, memento mori. Time flies. Remember death. Right. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I thought what you said about asking questions was really interesting because that's something I also have learned the hard way. Is it's better to ask questions and let people self-discover rather than trying to preach to them. I mean, you're still educating, but it's a more effective process of education where when someone asks you a question or when you're approaching them, you ask a question to them to let them, to use your phrase, clarify in their own minds, right? What are they thinking, right? Because most people either they haven't thought it through or they have all these preconceived notions, right? They're not approaching it from the right angle because they haven't been coached on that, right?
yeah.
Um,
And another thing too is, let's face it, there's two things. One, people are so busy anymore that really our job is as insurance professionals is to ask them questions that'll all that stuff in their mind for a couple minutes, bring it around so they can make a decision. Because if we can't do that in a short amount of time, the world is just going to distract them once again, right? And the other thing too is, I think it's really important. Social media, some of us might say, is has some benefits, right? We use it to get the word out. At the same time, and I know, between the internet and social media, people don't know what to believe anymore. I mean, my goodness, right? And in a way, I think it's heartbreaking. It really is tragic. I think a lot of people are actually not taking any action, which in a lot of situations, taking action, even though if it's not probably the best option, it might be better than doing nothing. And that's where I would tell people, or gosh, I shouldn't be telling people anything. I would ask them to please meet with someone. Um, Meeting someone that is a member of the Million Dollar Roundtable. Now anyone can make it. You know, I think 1 year, but um, you got a couple. I mean, that helps. Are you a member of the Million Dollar Roundtable? What's your experience? These are questions you should vet somebody. Who were you mentored by? What's the background of your mentor? I mean, stuff like that. I mean, there are so many amazing insurance professionals um, out there but also there's some bad ones, and it's not no different, by the way, than any other professional. I mean, we got bad doctors, we got bad lawyers, we got bad accountants, right? So, just like I've said before to you, Logan, even the fact that you made $1 million roundtable the first year was so impressive, and your love for the infinite banking concept. Whereas not everyone, and I know, not everyone is going to be the perfect client for you, Logan, right? And you're okay with that. That's great. You are not trying to be everything to everybody. You want people to believe in the infinite banking concept. You are a specialist at that. And that is awesome, right? We need specialists like that. So,
yeah, yeah, and I think for me, one of the biggest things, because to your point, it's not just clients vetting me, it's me vetting clients, right? Are we the right fit? And one of the biggest things I'm looking at is, are you willing to take responsibility for your own decisions? I'm here to assist, I'm here to coach, I'm here to help, educate. Everything that I possibly can do, I will do. But if you are trying to outsource your decision making responsibility to somebody else, where you're like, this finance thing's just a headache. I just want to give someone else some money and let them deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. Then it's probably not a good fit for me. You know,
Yeah.
I want people who are excited to take control of their finances, right? Who want to understand, who want to learn, right? Because if you don't want to learn, how are you even gonna know if you have the right financial professional? How are you gonna vet them if you're not willing to learn, right? Because at the end of the day, this is very simple. It's not complicated. I think if you're a reasonably intelligent person, you can vet ideas and you can vet financial professionals. And the ideas are arguably more important than the individual you're working with, because the individual you're working with might go away, right? But the ideas, if they're good ideas, they don't go away.
No, the good ideas are timeless. I mean, gosh, I look, there's ideas from the 1920s and 30s, concepts that they're still valid today. I mean, my gosh, even if you go back to, we could go back to ancient Rome, the single premium immediate annuity that I still use today, that kind of came out of ancient Rome. I mean, my goodness, right? And the modern day uh, deferred annuity, right, actually was created back in during the Great Depression. A lot of people don't realize that. Albert Einstein was one of was a big proponent of it. Babe Ruth owned fixed annuities, back in that uncertain times, right? So I think we got to be loud and proud and really talk about this stuff. But I got to wrap up here because I actually have to get going. But one thing I'm going to say to all my anybody listening that is an insurance and financial advisor, this is what I'm gonna beg for you for a second here is, we got to stop with the infighting, in a way, talking about my way is better than your way, and that I'm a fiduciary, so you're not, so you're stupid, and vice versa. We got to stop all that. I'm so tired of it. And back in the day, I got caught up in it too. Okay. The number one concern for all of us is to grow the insurance and financial services industry and to take care of our people, because we got a lot of bad. I'm going to tell you something now, and I shouldn't, my mentor is probably going to punch me in the face for telling something. We got a lot of bad stuff coming down the road in this country. Okay. This government, I don't care on what side of the political aisle you're on, they are not doing what's in our best interest. So, like the insurance industry got us through the Great Depression, we all got to work together, make this better, so that we can get all of the people, all of our clients that we love and we care about them, so that we can get them through these very uncertain times. And I truly do believe that in the next 10 years, we're going to have a cataclysmic financial crisis. And I do believe the insurance industry, the life insurance companies, will get us through the bad times, just like they did back during the Great Depression.
Yep.
So,
And you're right, Peter. We need to view other financial professionals, as I do and you do, as partners, not competitors, partners, right? And I always offer that out. And then how the other financial professional, because we come across them, how they respond says a lot about them, because I'm always looking to partner with them. And if they have the scarcity mindset and they view me as competition, it's unfortunate. But when I partner with them, as I partner with you and many others, um, we add more value to the clients, and that's what it's all about.
amen, amen.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Peter. I know we'll be talking again soon. It's been great chatting with you. Thank you for your perspective, and God bless you and your clients.
Well, thank you very much for this, Logan. God bless, Godspeed.